It's Scott with FaberGroup Properties. I'm joined by Joe Bellows, who's a property manager in Victoria with Randell North. Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been doing property management for.
Yeah, so my group's called Randell North. We got about 1,000 properties we manage in town.
It's pretty much half the city right
I
there.
wish, yeah. No, there's a lot of companies. There's over 20, I think, here right now, and our company's about 10 years old, and it's been interesting. I've only been with them for 2.5, but our CEO, he's been in the industry for 27 years, so he brings a lot to the table.
No kidding.
Yeah, huge source of knowledge, which is fantastic for me. So, really good person to learn from, and it's just a crazy process of just how quickly you learn, and it's very sink or swim, and I'm enjoying it quite a lot. So
good. Yeah, well, I know you'd probably learn pretty quick here because our vacancy for the longest time was 0%. Pretty much every single suite was rented out and filled, and it's super hard to find anything to rent nowadays, I feel.
Yeah, it's been 0.3% about that for the last 2 years or so, and it's basically at 1 now, and it's because the 1%. So we're at the point now where just so much new stock has been introduced, and it's just it's great to see it, but at the same time there's a lot of issues with the stock coming out. So it's just interesting seeing how that works.
Yeah, I know for sure. And Joe, we met about a year ago at Prodigy and Chamber Mixers. I know you got a great reputation with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's great to see you. Good to have you on the show again.
Thank you.
I'm a real estate agent with Royal Lepage, and so I deal a lot with tenants, clients that want to purchase property, move in, maybe trying to evict a tenant to get top dollar. Joe, I know you probably what's like the craziest phone call you've ever got, because I know you manage a lot of properties. Any kind of funny story or something that kind of sticks out?
Yeah. I haven't had too much happen to me directly. Honestly, a lot of crazy stuff happens further up island and up north.
Yeah. Well, I know you don't have any gray hair yet, so you must be doing something right.
No, I exercise a lot in the mornings.
Yeah.
It really helps mellow me out. I used to do a lot of boxing and rugby when I was younger.
Oh, sweet.
And it really helped. And so now it's more so just going to the gym and spend 30, 40 minutes doing cardio and then doing weights and stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's
it
good.
makes a big difference. Yeah.
Sweet. So let's say I'm working with a client. They want to purchase a single family home. It's got a 2-bedroom suite in there, and it's on a 1-year lease. The tenant's on a 1-year lease. They're maybe 9 months into the lease. How can they evict that tenant, or can they even?
Yeah. So if a tenant's still within the first year of their tenancy, the only way you can actually end a tenancy is with a mutual agreement to end tenancy.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's that's if they're within the first year. It just turns into what kind of a tenancy they've been put on. After a year, either side can legally give notice.
Okay.
So when it's at that point where you can legally give that notice, what that turns into is you can, depending on how you want to end the tenancy, that's where you have grounds to end it. So, that turns into, I want to live in the house, so I'd give them you'd have to give them a 2-month notice. They have the option of either leaving after a month, or they can get the last month for free. Things like that. But if they're still within that first year, that first fixed term amount, it has to be end with a mutual agreement, which means they have to sign. So they have to choose to allow it to end.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what about month to month? Is that a little bit different? If let's say I'm the listing agent, I'm listing a property and it has, a suite with a tenant in it right now, and the new purchasers want to move in for themselves, or maybe do a renovation, or they just want the tenant gone. What's the legal remedies to that?
So if that tenant's on month to month, so either the time, that fixed period of time that their initial tenancy is on, once that's over, that's when it's at the point where you can do these different forms of ending the notices. So that would be the 2-month. That would be all that process. There's major renovations with all the new legislation and with the rental task force and all of that. Now it's at the point where it has to be a 4-month notice. You have to give proof of having the actual permits done already before you begin the renovation.
Okay.
They're given 4 months worth of calendar months too, which is important, worth of notice, and the last month they get free.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, what's a 1-bedroom, in town, maybe Saanich, or not right downtown, but Saanich, or maybe just past downtown in Vic West, or around that area. What's that going for rents? Like maybe just standard 650 square feet, one bedroom.
Yeah, so I mean, the bigger thing is what kind of amenities are involved. So it's like,
Okay.
you know, is there parking? Is there storage? A huge thing nowadays is in-suite laundry. Pretty
Yeah.
much regardless of how big or small any unit that comes onto the table is going to be during, you know, this stage that we're at, you're going to get in-suite laundry. It's tough with like some of the older duplexes and like 5 and 6 plexes. Like I do manage quite a lot of those as well, where they're like character houses that have been essentially converted into
Okay.
legal suites, mind you. So they're all legal and everything.
Yeah.
So separately metered for hydro and stuff, but it's really difficult having the plumbing set up in a way in which each of those units can have like a stack washer dryer. So you
Fair
usually
enough.
have common, and it's usually coin operated, so coin-o-matic or something like that.
So if you know, if that rental property has, you know, its own laundry, its own parking stall, maybe a storage locker, it's like 650 square feet, and let's say it's in Saanich, it's a legal suite. What's it gonna rent for?
Yeah, like 1,200 minimum.
1,200 minimum. And
Yeah.
if it's a 2 bedroom, that's maybe 1,000 square feet.
That again is going to kind of determine. It's going to be determined by whether it's in an older house or not. Like
Okay.
I have 2 and 3 plexes all up and down Shelbourne and Mackenzie kind of area.
Yeah.
You know, if they're not brand new renovated, you're looking at closer to like the 16 to 1700 range. Maybe
Fair
you're
enough.
pushing up to 2 if they're really nice. But
Yeah.
closer to UVic, it's really hard to justify those prices if they aren't in some form of an actual like apartment strated building of some kind. If it's just
Yeah.
a suite, especially like a basement suite, like a basement suites are very hard to justify those higher prices because they're not as bright. There's
Yeah.
all sorts of other issues with them, and you're sharing, you know, your roof. You basically have people tap dancing above you.
Yeah.
Very rarely is there insulation to the point where you can't hear and interact with people.
Fair enough. Yeah. So Joe, if you're managing a building, maybe a condo building, I know you manage like a, what is it, a 33 suite building.
Yeah, I have a 32 unit building. I manage.
32. Yeah. So, you know, what happens if, you know, the plumbing goes off, or, you know, some kind of issue happens? Do you have a whole bunch of tradespeople that you can just call up? Because I know trades are just swamped nowadays.
Yeah, I've got like a very comprehensive trade list. They're prioritized based on if I would use them for emergency purposes because they charge flat rates regardless if it's after hours or weekends.
Yeah.
I'd have another one that would be for like major projects where I know it's gonna be a couple months down the road and like I really want to book them in, but they're very good, and so I do that. So pretty much with every single trade that, you know, like plumbing, plumbing, electrical, cleaning, painting are like pretty
Yeah.
much the bread and butter trades that I will call quite a lot, and I have at least 2 to 3 of each of those based on those kind of things.
Sweet.
Yeah, and they
Great.
make a big difference. It's funny.
No kidding.
Maybe was it Friday night? Is it Saturday night? So Saturday night, I got a call from a tenant in this 32 unit building, and they have 2 washer dryers, and one of the washers was like blowing up, basically.
Just exploded.
Yeah, so it's just like basically the chute that the water is meant to go down,
Yeah.
it was clogged, just like lint and stuff like that, and so there's water just like shooting up and like
Oh my
hitting
God.
the ceiling. Yeah, so
It's like Hiroshima in the rental unit.
kind of all you know, just crazy stuff happens all the time, and luckily like this all this is like near a drain in the basement. You know, this
Fair
isn't
enough,
in
yeah.
someone's suite. I've had that happen before, and that's you know, gravity's a bitch. You know?
No kidding.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, if you're thinking about renting out a suite,
Mm.
what's some things maybe to think about? If you're a homeowner right now, you know, maybe you're just renovating a suite right now, or maybe you just purchased a home that has no tenant in it. What's some things to keep in mind?
No, that's a great question. One of the bigger ends of the line is like you shouldn't be thinking of this as if you are moving in. Like it's a rental suite. You do not
Yeah.
need to go super high-end countertops, super high-end appliances. You know, you want to be either saving costs that
Yeah.
are going to be related to you. So like if you plan on doing tenancy where water is included, you know, do low flush toilets. You know,
Yeah.
do things where either the appliances involved are going to cost you less if you're paying for them, or they're going to be like a worthwhile amenity for your tenant. Because the hardest thing for a landowner right now that they're going to have to compete with is the thousands of new units that are coming available, and the
Yeah.
fact that tenants who've been stuck in a crappy little basement suite paying $1,000 a month for just like atrocious settings is going to have a real opportunity to move somewhere else,
Yeah.
and your place is going to sit vacant for months because you're thinking it still justifies that price when maybe it's renting right now for $1,000, and then like realistically it should be like $600. And it's
Wow.
really hard for like if they don't want to put any cost or anything into it, like
Yeah.
that there like a reckoning is going to be coming here in terms of all the stuff that's becoming available. So when you're renovating right now, you want to be focusing on making your place not good enough, but like good to the point where it's going to be competitive against all the brand new stuff coming out.
That's a great tip. I mean, I'm just dealing with that right now with a client. Actually, they just bought a single family home. It's got an unfinished basement. And so I told the renovator, I was like, hey, why don't you give my clients 3 options: a high-end option, a complete garbage option, and a medium option.
Yep.
And that's a good point. Don't make it over the top, right? Because you don't need to, right? But make it just competitive enough that someone's gonna look at that and be like, hey, you know what? I'd rent there and pay up to what you're offering. So
yeah, and the sad reality too is like it's great when you get the good renters, but you can still have a good renter that's just kind of harder on the place. It's just like they could like wearing their shoes inside. A lot of people like doing that. And if you don't have, if you have like original pine flooring, it's going to take much more of a beating than if maybe you renovated and you've done like really durable plank lino.
Yeah.
And then another great idea is just, don't be so against the idea of like pets being allowed in the unit. There's a lot of people with well-behaved pets that get unfortunately like stereotyped with all the bad behaved pets.
Yeah.
And they're looking for places like everyone else, and it will justify a higher price, and it'll make sense, like especially doing like something like plank lino. Like that stuff is indestructible. You can pop them out individually. You do not have to feed all the way from the wall in order to access this kind of stuff. Very easy way to do it. If you own a lot of properties, just use the same plank lino everywhere, and then anytime you've got a problem, you're able to use that same stock of other plank lino that you have elsewhere.
Yeah. Good tips.
Yeah.
Anything else that you want to add there, Joe, in regards to rental? What do you see, the 2019 shaping up to look like for rents?
Yeah. So, one of the more interesting things on my end, and I have no proof for any of it happening, but I would love to see it happen.
Yeah.
It's just, with the new rental task force and their ability to really influence anything at any point they want, like the maximum allowable increase was meant to be 4.5% for 2019. Yeah. The highest it's been in over a decade.
Wow.
And they were basically like, no, that's not fair to renters. We don't think that should happen. And the traditional calculation was inflation plus 2%.
Yeah.
And so they took it's plus 2%. And so they took the 2% out, and now maximum allowable increase for 2019 is 2.5%. So they've changed something that has been the same calculation for a very, very long time because they just didn't feel like it was justified. So they've reached in and they changed something. So I would love to see something to that degree happen in the Strata Act.
Yeah.
Where, for instance, there are thousands of units that could be available tomorrow if you removed rental restrictions from stratas.
Yeah.
They're built already. They're in stable environments. They're all to code based on when they were built and everything.
Yeah.
You could, if you're worried about a low vacancy rate, like impact a market that's 100% ready to be introduced.
True.
It would raise everyone's property value. It would provide a lot of opportunity for a lot of people who traditionally can't afford to buy in this market right now.
Yeah.
Increase a huge amount of stock for renters. Like I would love to see that happen. I don't know if it's going to happen. I have no crystal ball, but like it would be nice to see something like that happen.
That's good. Well, you're getting the message out. That's for sure. So
yeah,
that's great. Any Christmas plans or anything like that, Joe? I know it's a busy time of the year, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm from Vancouver, so I'm planning on trying to run away for a little bit.
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
that's good.
My dad's birthday on the 21st, so I'd like to try to hop over for there. And,
great, pretty close. It's like a double Christmas presents kind of thing, or
yeah. Well, my mom, my sister, my dad are there. My mom's November 30th, and then my dad and my sister are December. So it's just like
good.
No kidding. I love them. But it's just funny.
Yeah, that's good. Pretty much paying a rental payment for presents.
Take out another mortgage.
That's good. All right. Well, that's Joe Bellows, everyone. Thanks for coming on the show and kind of talking a bit about what's going on in the rental community here in Victoria.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun, and it's good, and awareness is so important right now.
You bet.
The barriers and like the fence between renters and landlords is getting so bad.
Yeah.
So it'd be really nice if everyone can just try to communicate a little bit more.
Yeah. Or at least get the education when you're trying to rent out a suite, or just at least know what you're getting into, because tenants got a lot of power. And
well, there's bad reputations for landlords and for tenants, and it would be great to offset that and show that everyone's a person here, right? Like it's so it would be nice to see more of that attitude.
Fair enough. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Scott. Great
All
seeing
right.
you, buddy.
Yeah, you too.
Okay.
Take care.
Nice. Thanks.